Hi, welcome to your Maker Orientation at Oneness. I'm Tim. I will be your orientator. I made a little booklet we're going to go through, and it basically introduces what it is to be a maker and what that entails as far as working with children, working with adults, and then we'll go into some basic supplies that we need and some example projects that I think are good for working with 3 to 12-year-olds, and well, older, of course. So the first thing is sort of what does maker mean? Like, what's the philosophy? What's the point? What's the purpose? And the actual idea of makers is about 7 years old, and it just started with a bunch of. It really kind of started with drone technology and 3D printing. And the idea that these were crowdsourced and sort of open source technologies that a lot of people had a hand in developing, that a lot of people wanted to work on. And from there, what people started to realize was that there was really no age minimum for learning things like circuitry and robotics and design. And more people with other skill sets and other interests came in and became makers. And then, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, really erupted into this community of just creators and builders and tinkerers and experimenters. And people really started to realize how much kids, shocker, love building and creating things. And so the maker movement right now is very multi-generational. It's all ages. And that's why it's so much fun. And so the idea of being a maker is using your hands. Is anything you can do with your hands, anything you can create, anything you can build, anything you can take apart, anything you can destroy is fair territory. So it's really open-ended as far as what you want to do with your time. I would say about half of the time there's a real sort of science or technology kind of background to what you're doing, kind of emphasis that you might be trying to teach the kids something about physics or flight or chemistry. But the other half of the time, it's very creative, artistic. It's a lot about self-discovery, self-exploration. It's crafts, it's arts, it's collaboration, doing things together. And so we're going to sort of go with that to begin. The second sort of key thing in the maker community is that nothing is really secret or sacred. Everything is available for everybody. And so anything you create, anything you develop, is very much going to get shared with the community. And a lot of people make money off of, makers. It's fine. It's a wonderful venture for people to get involved in. But they make sure that it's always, all the technology is available to everybody. So all the drone technology, all the crocheting technology, everything in between. And so you just find something that you want to share, want to learn about, and you find people to share it with. The third thing that's really important is that everybody works together. And what this means is that, and this is my favorite part, is that anything that a grown-up can work on, kids can be a part of, and kids can experience and interact with. And the vice versa of anything that kids want to be doing, or anything kids can do that grown-ups want to get involved in, whether it's Legos or finger painting or whether it's a chemistry lesson, the adults are welcome, always welcome. And so there's a big tenet is sort of the open door. If parents show up early, if siblings show up, you got to kind of have that attitude of welcoming. And what you're doing is really modeling for your young makers that sense of showing other people, sharing what you're doing, getting other people to get their hands in. It's really great to get grandma or grandpa show up and pull them in the classroom and get them to make whatever the project was for the day. And that kind of leads to the last point, is that the more that we foster this idea of building, making, experimenting, and then showing other people and really sharing it with them, the more makers create makers. And my advice for you is, if you ever get stuck on what to do with the kids, just ask one of the kids. I have a lot of projects here, and a bunch of them were developed by kids. This is a little knick-knack house, just a little cardboard house. And one of my students was like, "Hey, I have an idea. Let's make a little cardboard house that you can put nature in." and then it could be like a display case. And then I have a ton of journals here that I'll get to, which are usually my daughter's realm. So that's basically the philosophy. I have Morgan and Sean and Jimmy here. You guys have any questions about that? It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty exciting.
Sounds great, Tim.
Push the stop on Jimmy voice. So the second thing I want to talk about is supplies. And so for the most part, I tend to get my supplies ready the day of or the day before I'm doing a project, unless I know it in advance is something I need to buy at the store or typically order on Amazon, because you can put a lot of bulk items together and really get set for a whole camp or 6 weeks or 8 weeks of teaching an after-school class. And then your families are a great source of almost everything else you might need. And so I start with the idea of connectors. And for connectors, you have all your different tapes. You have duct tape, masking tape, painter's tape, box tape, scotch tape, metal tape, which is aluminum. Aluminum ductwork tape is fantastic. Kids love that. Strings, twines, yarns, and then glue. Glue sticks, glue guns, wood glue, craft glue, school glue, super glue. Super glue could arguably be in the teacher kit. I have very few projects that are sort of open-ended, do whatever you want with all the supplies, so I tend to bring out whatever the lesson is. But I like to have all this stuff available. And then I only thought about this area briefly, but things to decorate with, so crayons, markers, pencils, charcoals, pastels, those might come in handy, paints. You need a great supply of Sharpies for Maker Club, because the kids, a lot of what they're building, they decorate very quickly at the end, or they'll do stuff like that, and the Sharpie works on all of those other materials that are not paper. So, but those, again, maybe not always available to the kids. Then I talk about working tools. I didn't actually bring any of my working tools, but that's where you have a good supply of scissors, grown-up scissors for everybody above age 6 or 7, but the kid scissors are good for the younger guys. You might need some needle nose pliers and regular pliers for the kids. And then, depending on how advanced of the project, you might have screwdrivers or a tinker. They sell little tinkerer toolkits, and that's kind of, teachers might have that kind of stuff. And then if you're going to do carpentry as part of making, you have all your carpentry tools, your drills, all your hand tools. So you have drills, saws, hammers, files, screwdrivers, sanding blocks, braces, brace drills, clamps, miter boxes, wood glue, all that stuff. Measuring tools. For the teachers, really all I ever have is this. It's my little tiny knife. And the kids know that I always have a knife. Always have a knife. But a good box cutter, and then maybe access to the laminator is always fun. A book binder with the spiral binding is great. And maybe a wood burner, soldering gun, maybe other sort of teacher tools depending on how advanced you get. I'll come back to that part in a sec. And then you have your craft supplies and your reusable supplies. And be careful with asking parents to donate things, because you get an entire room full of recycling. And 90% of that goes into the oneness recycling, which is fine, because it's in the kid's mind to be looking at things as reusable instead of recyclable. So we want reuse and repurpose to come in the loop before recycle. We want recycle to be after they reuse something once or twice. And that's a huge sort of, there's a lot of lessons that are going on in Maker Club for the kids that are dealing with sciences, but also with ecology and with creativity and with community, and that idea that things can be repurposed before they're recycled is very important for the kids. And they love that. Yeah, Sean's laughing because he's thinking about different things that the kids will not throw away. But for craft supplies, all the different papers that you can get, as well as streamers I think streamers are an awesome supply, and I'll talk about a couple really cool projects that I've done with streamers. Cardboard that's like pre-cut cardboard is a good thing to have. It's not the same as scrap cardboard or boxes. Brown paper, felt, faux fur is okay. And then you have straws, pipe cleaners, balloons, toothpicks, paper clips, other types of clips, clothespins, dowels, little woodsies, little wooden shapes that they sell at the craft store in the big buckets, like circles and hearts and diamonds. Those are fun. Sculpey, modeling clay, aluminum foil, coffee filters. I'll talk about a project that uses those. Paper cups, those little clear stones that they sell for vases, like the blue and green and yellow ones. Skewers, plastic spoons, craft foam, rough spun wool. It can all come into the craft foam. Is that thick green foam that's kind of hard? It's like flour foam. Yeah. That stuff's great. And then stuff you might ask for when you need it, or keep in short supply, like collect 24 or whatever of them, or things like paper towel tubes, toilet paper tubes, other tubes like wrapping paper and laminator tubes are great. Egg cartons, milk and juice cartons that are cleaned out and don't smell. Plastic bottle caps, beer caps, cork, wine corks, scrap wood, laminator scraps, just little squares of laminator scraps. Scrap fabric, old CDs. These are easy to come by these days. Lots of people have these. CD cases. The jewel cases are great. There's little jewel case projects. If you type jewel case craft project on Pinterest, you get like a ton of fun jewel case ideas. Shoe boxes, tissue boxes, cereal, cracker, other little cardboard boxes. Big cardboard boxes are great. 2-liter bottles, yogurt cups, mason jars, spice jars, old toys that can be taken apart, old electronics that have all the nasty stuff taken out of them that can be taken apart, PVC that's safe, and I like funnels, and that's like another one of the activities is the PVC and the funnels. I thought I brought my Make Do's. I know Jimmy has seen them before. Well, I think he has, but I didn't. There's this company in Australia, you should write this down, Make Do's, M-A-K-E-D-O-S. And they sell these little cardboard connectors that are blue, and they look like zip ties. And they come with a little cardboard cutting and poking tool, and they allow you to attach huge pieces of cardboard together very quickly and easily. And those combined with zip ties are awesome joiners for cardboard or other things too, but really, when the kids are working with cardboard, you want lots of zip ties or Make Do's around. So that's all the sort of supplies. I'm sure there's lots of stuff I left off. This project uses modeling clay and pasta. It's got noodles, and it's a little bird's nest made from whole wheat or brown noodles and little robin's eggs. So pasta can be a supply. And so then you go into projects, into what you do with the kids in Makers Camp or Makers Club. And a lot of that is really organic, really will happen as it happens. If you have a theme for the camp or the after-school class, you can follow the theme all the way through. Like it can be woodworking, or it could be electronics, or it could be duct tape, or it could be flight, or it could be fabric crafts. Like you can pick a theme because there's just endless things you can make. I love mixing in themes that I can teach science with because I like to just talk about physics and the dynamics of chemistry, and a lot of what we do as Montessorians comes into this a lot because when you do your little layers of density experiment, well, there's a lot of chemistry there, but you're also making something that's really beautiful and cool. And if you get mason jars or little spice jars and give the kids the supplies to make their own, you can talk about all of that density of liquids and stuff. So here's some of the projects that I've done. Lots of paper airplanes. The kids love making paper airplanes. Lots of people give me little paper airplane instructions, and they give me old scraps and stuff. And that's probably the most fun for the kids when you talk about thrust and drag and lift and gravity and yaw and pitch and there's one more. Pitch, yaw, and roll. Got it. And roll. And the kids love that, and then they throw their airplanes. Gliders. Oh, by gliders, I really mean the sort of dollar store gliders. I had one here. Yeah, so these are, you can get like 70 of these for $6 on Amazon. And they're really fun to put together, really quick and easy, and they come with little propellers, and they fly really well. Don't get the tiny ones. They do not fly well. Just get the normal size ones. And then there's some projects. I recommend books like this. I'm sure you guys have it somewhere. But I didn't bring a Zappy Zoomer, but there's other flying devices that you can build that teach other aspects, other types of physics of flight. There's another flying ring. Yeah. And then you have your paper helicopter is a great example, a great way to talk about flight. I'm not going to find it now that I'm looking for it in here. There it is. The paper helicopter. And that really teaches kids about drag and stuff like that. And then other things that you can do with strings and balloons also teach flight. There it is. Zooming balloon rocket. And we do that in the Montessori class to teach the kids about thrust and things, where we tie a little monofilament where the kids can't see it, and we hang up a little balloon with the bulldog clip on it. And when the kids aren't sort of paying attention, you release the clip, and it shoots through the middle of them. And they'll go, whoa! And then we talk about the forces of flight. So it's a lot of fun. Let's see. There's a great experiment, which I don't have an example of because it kind of deteriorates, called a Cartesian diver. And I highly recommend this one because it's a great way to teach the kids about pressure. And what you do is you take a little water bottle, like a little 8-ounce bottle. So you get a whole slab of those. And you give every kid an 8-ounce bottle of water, and you give every kid a little you get the pens that are closed on the top, but a little pen top, and you put a little bit of clay on the bottom. And before you can teach them about water pressure, you teach them about equilibrium. So they have to get, and the clay kind of covers the hole too, and they have to get it to stand up in a regular cup of water, not sink to the bottom and not float sideways. And once they achieve like a bobbing top, they have equilibrium. And that's where the density of the item is the same density as the water. And then they put it into their bottle of water, close the top. They have to close the top, because if they don't close the top, they'll get all wet. Because after they close the top, they squeeze the bottle, and that increased pressure makes the diver sink, and letting it go makes the diver rise. And so it changes the density of the water, which makes the density of the bottle cap heavier and back to equilibrium. So it's a really fun thing for them to build, a really challenging concept if it's not manifested with their hands. And that, I learned that because we did, I used to have a robotics teacher, and he made underwater rovers with the kids, which was a very simple kit. Had like 3 places where he soldered, and the rest was all just connecting things. But before he would go, one of the things you have to achieve with the rover is equilibrium, because you can dive it down and dive it up, but if it's too heavy, it just gets stuck on the bottom, and if it's too light, the propellers can't reach the water. So you have to get your rover to be sitting right at the edge of the water. So he taught them, he did the Cartesian diver thing first, and then came in and we built the underwater rover, and that was really cool. There's a lot of cars you can make. This is a sail car, which, believe it or not, you can like with your breath, and it will roll across the table because the wheels spin independently on with their axle. So that's a great thing. And then you can do balloon cars, which are challenging, but it's like when we were kids and you blow up the balloon and then it makes the car zoom. You can do kind of what are they called? Not Pinewood Derby, but you can do like a creativity derby where you can buy or make little wooden wheels, and that went to save screen. Oh, I'm still here. Hi. And you can do a sort of silly derby where it's kind of like Pinewood Derby, but the kids have decorated them with rhinestones and they've stuck pins all over them, and they've basically just taken a piece of foam, stuck 4 spinning things on with 4 nails into the foam, and just let it go down a homemade track kind of a thing. And then a rubber band racer is a great thing. I didn't bring one, I should have, but it uses a paper towel tube. It uses 2 old CDs as the back wheels, held together with a pencil and masking tape, and then 2 front wheels. Kind of looks like a drag car. Maybe that's what it's called, rubber band dragster. And the rubber band connects from the rear axle, which is a pencil, through to the front of the car, and when you spin the back wheels, it winds the rubber band, and when you let it go, it gets traction, and it goes, 10 feet. I have a video that I could show to them. Should I show a video?
We can look it up.
Okay, let's go.
It might not come out the same way as we think.
Then here I have for physics and engineering, I have dominoes, marble mazes. There's an activity in this book called the floating ball game, the balloon, singing bottles or singing glasses. Anything you do with density and with sound is fun. And a couple others. One of my favorite things that I've ever done with the kids was we have a thin hallway similar to the downstairs hallway here at school, and we took all the old streamers and masking tape, and the kids connected the streamers zigzag across the hallway, and then it became this sort of maze that they had to crawl over, almost like the spider web game, but it had depth to it as well as spidery stuff. So they had to go through different parts, and they had so much fun. And then at the end, I let them run from one end to the other and just destroy it. Because part of being a maker is being destructive. So it's really fun. For circuits and robotics, it's not as hard as it sounds. The kit that I always start with is this guy. It's a little toothbrush robot. It just has a little toothbrush head, battery cell, and it's not an actuator, it's an agitator, I think. It's like a little motor. And when you connect them, let's see, this one was working last night. The motor kind of shakes the whole device, and it runs across the table. And it just uses a few pieces of tape. It doesn't want to work today. They're pretty old. But, and it goes, and the kids love it. This is called a lunar lander, and all this guy has is a little battery cell and a little LED light, and so that's a closed circuit when you connect them. And so when it's just this guy, it's open, and then you have a little piece of metal tape in here, and when you connect it, it turns on. He's got a little red light, and he's a little moon lander. You guys can look at that. He's really cute. And then this guy is called BlinkyBot. These are all kits that you buy on makershed.com, which is a great source. So the investments, for these things are $3 to $4 per kit for these kits. This guy's called BlinkyBot. Let's see if he wants to work today. And he, again, has these little antennas that when they're not touching his eye, the LED leads, they don't connect, and then when they touch the LED leads, he turns on. So after you make him, kind of walk him around, you got to get the... So I think these 3 projects are plenty of sort of creative circuitry for the kids. It's really fun. But I have a few others that I've been getting ready to do because I'm trying to get into soldering. Soldering is, it's challenging. It's not that challenging. This is the metal detector kit. This was like $10. This was a make your own watch kit. This was like $20. These are things, that I don't know if you'd get one. You wouldn't get one for every kid, but you might get one project, sort of build it with the kids watching, and then let them go play with their other supplies. And this is a shock game. So that one I'm making for Jimmy. And then you can get into things like Mindstorms, Raspberry Pi, Arduino. I also have a little spin bot somewhere, which is like a spirograph, and it's a little robot that has 3 markers for legs, and when you turn them on, you need a huge piece of paper, like 10 feet by 10 feet, because he goes everywhere. It's like, destroy your house bot. Woodworking projects. So if you teach woodworking, a book stand can be built by 3-year-olds. A little woodblock city can be built by 3-year-olds. You do you kind of prepare most of the pieces, and you get the kids maybe 1 or 2 of the pieces to cut themselves. So they use the saw, they use the sanding block. They might do 1 hole themselves with the drill, and then they use all the glue and the decorating. But you want to get them, and now the older kids could cut all the parts. But for the younger kids. Just a little creativity boat, tugboat. This is a project Bee made herself. It's a little stuffed animal bench. Little animals. Again, for the older kids, if you have a miter box, get 4x wood, and they can do some of the cuts or all the cuts and the measurements, and they glue it all together. A little pretend sailboat. Clapping sticks. There's lots of music you can do in Maker Club. So that's all kind of cool, quick, 1 day, 1 session woodworking stuff. And there's more advanced stuff for older kids. Other music projects are like a paper towel, duct tape, rain stick. That's cool.
I have a question.
Yes, Jimmy.
One of the things I saw online, which I thought would be great for Sean's group, which is the kind of 1st to 6th, 7th graders, is collecting a bunch of like cardboard in a pile, and maybe do 3 equal piles, those cardboard connectors you were talking about and stuff like that, and then challenging the groups to come up with the tallest structure that's freestanding. Is that Makers-like?
That's 100% Makers, because you're dealing with engineering, obviously, so it's very advanced. It's like actual science, but you're using the things around you in your hands. You're building things, and you're working together. You're discussing, collaborating. You're learning how to be part of a team. That's fantastic. I've done a lot of sort of cardboard box tunneling, where the kids just kind of make hamster mazes with those connectors or with zip ties, and that's really fun. I mean, you can put 30 cardboard boxes right now on the blacktop and with nothing to connect them, and the kids will have a day's worth of fun. They'll never stop building. My first woodworking project is always a practice block. So the kid tries to use every tool. My first Maker Club project is always Trash City. So that's where I actually send the parents the email and I say, all the recycling, anything goes. No glass.
Cleaned out.
And I bring in the duct tape, and I bring in the box tape and the zip ties, and the kids can build whatever building they want. And then we talk about the parts of the city and the commercial and the residential and the industrial and the institutional and being near the water. And if we have time, we'll draw. If you've ever done the building museum workshop, it's very much like that. But it's at school instead of at the building museum. So it's basically that city by design thing that they do there. But I call it Trash City because it's trash. It's not yet trash, though. Let's see. I've talked about almost everything. You can do other actual skills, like you could get somebody to come teach the kids flint knapping or wool carding, how to card wool, how to spin yarn, how to dip candles. A lot of those things are really great for the kids to learn. And they're very similar to carpentry in that they're sort of a traditional venture. But there's lots of people in the area who love doing that stuff. And then you can upcycle old crayons and old markers and old pencils and things and into lots of crafts. You, somewhere, I didn't bring it. I have lots of sunprint paper, so sun printing is huge in Maker. They make sunprint cloth now. So you can buy a big roll of sunprint cloth, or t-shirts, or scarves, and you can sunprint those things. So, and there's a ton of chemistry in sunprinting we'll talk about.
We got sunprint paper last year, and we had them collect things from the garden or whatever and put it on the sunprint paper and then go inside and then come back out and get is that the same kind of thing?
That's exactly it. Yeah, sunprinting. Let's see. Journaling. I think journaling is a great thing for Maker Club. So everybody knows how to make homemade journals, with the construction paper. We've been making a lot of nature journals this year. Nature journals are great. You just do 2-hole punch on a half sheet. I put a lot of watercolor paper in there for kids, and the kids will put cardstock or construction paper. And then all it is, I'll take one apart. Actually, that one's for you guys. So all it is just a rubber band and the paper, and then a stick to hold it together. And the stick is a really great binder. Bamboo sticks work great. Old chopsticks work the best. But old pencils work too. Like if the kids have used all the erasers, but the pencils are still long, it's a great use for old pencils. But it's a great place to draw, to journal, to collect things from nature. This is, obviously this is a classroom project that I've also taught. This is Beatrice made a little mini journal. She just folded paper and sliced all the cuts and then stapled it. Or she stapled it, then sliced all the cuts. So it has like 30 pages, and it's made out of 2 pieces of paper. So that's awesome. If you have a book binder, you can make little recycled journals. What else? Things we do in class, like volcanoes, bean sprouts, plant kingdom charts, coloring carnations, making bug catchers. Those are all great Maker activities, teaching the kids about their environment. Bee's been in some puppet making camps. I can't take credit for these. That's her marionette she hand stitched and made. Very simple construction. And this is her little dancing monkey. It's just Brad. It's just put together with Brad's. He's cool. And then the last thing are sort of the toys. So I talked, Legos, dice, snap circuits. One of the things I love doing with the kids with those little vase gems that I talked about is making their own board games. Those are great counters. And then you can order a huge bag of dice off Amazon for $6. You can even order the little Skittles, little sorry guys, the little pieces. They love to build their own little pieces out of Sculpey and bake them up. So making board games for the day is really fun. Marble runs are great, and dominoes. Dominoes obviously is like very advanced science, and then it's very simplified stuff. Building the platonic solids, taking apart, I don't know if the Rubik's Cube phenomenon has taken over at OFS yet.
It did a while back, and
it's insane right now at our school, and so I keep waiting for one to break because I really want to take it apart. So I don't know. All right, so I think I'll stop there because I could just keep talking forever.
2 questions. Okay. One, how do you encourage a child who seems to be disinterested in kind of the activity, the whole scene? What are some ways that you do that to help a child? And then the second question is, how do you approach helping a child who's stuck in a project? How much do you do for them, or how do you lead them through that?
Those are great questions. I think children who are stuck might need to be reminded that they can adapt the project to what they want to make. Sometimes getting them to make something will help them go back and try to make what the lesson is about. Sometimes kids who are stuck need to be allowed to not make anything that day and be a helper of some sort. So I frequently have kids who don't want to build something, but they'll help other people. I think that's great. And then the first part was sort of, how do you help the kids who are kind of down, I mean, bring a lot of color or bring a lot of individualism into it, or maybe if that kid, you might not be able to prevent that kid from having a bad session one day and then go before the next session and just say, hey, I'm stuck. Can you help me think of a project that everybody might want to do? Or something like that. You might be able to get them out of their rut by building up their creative confidence or their ownership of it. Or you might know who they are, and you might be like, you know what, guys? Today we're building boomerangs. So let's go and build boomerangs. Do fun stuff like that. Or we're just going to go throw the boomerang and wear helmets. No, you don't have to. You can build model rockets in Maker Club. That's awesome. Rocketry is definitely makery. So.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Well, email me with any questions and email me for pictures and links and stuff because I have millions that I couldn't put into my little rough draft booklet.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
Bye,
Thanks,
OFS.
Tim.
I miss you guys.